So those are the colors of the rainbow pretty much that we can see, and they all link into each other, and that's really the only order that you can go in. Okay. Now, the second thing that I want to talk about is, just like in watercolors, you can see that I have the white of the background layer here, and then I have black that I can use. So I have, let's get some black right here, and then basically the paper or the surface that I'm working on is white. So if I ever need to get white, I can just grab it from the surface, and so those are all the colors that we have in Photoshop, and that's how you can make any kind of color. And the same, really, we're going to talk about actually picking colors and buying colors a little bit later. So the first thing I want to talk about is tints and shades. Okay, so this is a term that you might hear, and another reason why we want to do this is actually in the painting, color, and light class. If we ever talk about tinting something or shading, it makes it quicker to know the terminology. So a tint is simple. It's basically adding white to a color. So if I have a color, and if I grab some of that blue that was in the color wheel there, and then I just start adding white to it, that's a tint right there. So this color that it made right there is a tint of that blue. And the same thing if I had orange, and I got the pure hue of orange, and I just added some white. And if I could add a lot of white so that I make a really strong tint, is that how you would say it?
I'd say, yeah.
Strong tint.
Or a hard tint?
Or hard tint, maybe. The other one is a shade, and that's simply by adding black to a color. So if we have a color, we get some violet, and then we get some black, and we add some black to it. That is a shade of purple. We can add some more black, and we have a darker shade. It sounds right to say darker shade, but darker tint and lighter tint sounds weird. Okay, so quite simply, that's that right there. Are there any questions so far?
No questions. I just am curious, what is hue?
That's right where we're going.
Okay, cool.
I'm glad you didn't throw me one that I didn't know. So you have hue, chroma, and what's the other one? Some people call it lightness. Some people call it brightness.
Mm.
And when you buy paints in the store, you'll see that they'll have, if you look on the back, they'll have a label, and they'll tell you what the hue and what the chroma and what the brightness is. And it's technical stuff that you'll probably never ever care about, because you're looking at the color and you're going, this is a pretty color, this is the one I want, right? So hue, just and this is something right here that I never ever used or learned, but I thought I would mention it because it might come up. I don't ever refer to color as the hue or the chroma or the brightness. It's technical jargon that I just haven't found handy, but for the sake of this class, I think it's important to just go over it a little bit. Hue is the actual color. Chroma is more, if you think about it, is more of the purity of the color. And brightness is just kind of how it sounds. It's the value, light or dark, of a color. So if you think about it like this, the hue of pure red would be something like this. So when we're talking about a color and we say, what hue is it? It's red, or it's violet, or it's orange, or it's teal. That is the hue or the color. The chroma is the purity, and again, we talked about tints. So when you're talking about chroma, you're talking about how pure is it, how close is it to the pure hue, which is red, or how dirtied up is it, and then because it's been mixed with black or with white or with other colors. And then brightness is how much it reflects light back to you. So that's it, and that's as technical as I want to go, because that's as much as I know about it. Yeah, chroma could be the saturation. That would be another good way, and that's a word I use all the time. So that's actually probably a better word, and I didn't have that in my lecture, but thank you, Elizabeth. Let's just talk about saturation really quick, because that is a term that we use a lot. So if we look back here on this this color picker, let's just go over this really quick. And I hope you can see this. When I move the little selection tool up here in the corner, that's as bright and as saturated a color as I can get out of red right there, or out of that family of colors. So if I paint that right there, and if I go back there and I move this over here, this is pure white. It wouldn't help me to paint that because you wouldn't see it. Right down here in this corner is pure black. So I get black right there. And then this corner is actually black and that pure hue mixed together. So if I get that, it also appears black. Supposedly it's got a little bit of color in it. If I move up just a little bit, I might be able to see that a little bit better. And I don't know if you can still see that, but I can see it on my screen. It's starting to change a little bit.
Yeah.
Can you see
It's
that?
like a very warm gray.
Right.
There
Okay.
we go.
Yeah. It helps to kind of see it in progression there. So that's what we're talking about. Saturation is basically this right here, pure saturated color, and the opposite, anything else would be less saturated or desaturated. Okay, so I think that's it on that.
So one person asked, does Chroma also deal with mixed complementary colors? You
That's a
understand that
good
question?
question. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. I don't really understand that one. So, and then black, is black close to very dark green? Yes, we're going to talk about black too a little bit later on. Okay, so the next thing that I want to talk about, and I guess I'm going to have to keep that layer out there, and I'll just